I'm here. How are you all? I am back to teach you some stuff about sharing fairly, mathematically, and I'm going to be going through all of that in a little while. But first of all, just before all this lockdown happened, I went and saw a magician. And he was a Spanish magician. Anyway, he had his a cloak on, and his first trick was amazing. Basically, what he did, he came out on stage. He said, "I'm going to disappear." Like, yeah, okay. And he went, "Uno." I'm like, "What's going on?" He went, "Duo," and then he disappeared without a trace. Without a trace. I'm not apologising. They don't get any better. So hopefully we're all ready to learn some stuff about fair sharing. But in order to do so, I want to show you to meet two friends of mine. My friends, Billy and Tilly. Now, a few years ago, we ran together a very, very successful car wash for about a day. And then, unfortunately, it became a very unhappy car wash. Because Billy would get up in the morning, he'd go out about 10 o'clock, and he'd scrub the cars, and he loved his work, and they were always shining clean. Tilly would sit on her pink car and wash her feet. She also only did about an hour's work every day. And at the end of doing the car washing, they had £50. But there were lots of arguments because Billy felt that it wouldn't be fair if they both got £25. Tilly was like, well, we both were doing the car wash together. We should both get half the money. £50, half the money. That's £25 each. But Billy was like, but that's not fair because I've scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed. And Tilly was like, I don't care. I did half the work. And Billy's like, no, you didn't. So they needed a fair system on how to share their money. So they came to ask me. And I said, well, I'm glad you came. Because I reckon we can work this out together, and I reckon we've just got just what you're looking for. So, we did the following. I wrote down that the £50, and you can see, my 50 looks a lot like a 400. I wrote down their £50. And I wrote down 1 hour was what Billy did and Tilly did 4 hours. And Billy went, no, sir, I did 4 hours and Tilly did 1 hour. You've got to listen. So I said, okay, let's fix that. Billy did 4 hours, Tilly did 1 hour. So what we really need to do is write, first of all, a ratio. 4 to 1. And we have to pronounce this as 2. 4 to 1. Because that's how many hours they did each. And then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work out the total number of shares that there are. And I'm sure it's quite straightforward that you all understand that there must equal 5. 4 add 1 equals 5. So we need to find a fair way of dividing this £50 into 5 groups, 5 pots of money. I made 5 little pots because there were 5 hours of work. So we wanted to know how much work each one was worth. And so Billy said, what are you doing? What is going on here? And Tilly was like, as long as I get my money. And Billy was like, but you didn't do any work. And I said, stop arguing. We're going to do this fairly. If there were 5 total hours of work, 4 and 1, that means each hour must be worth £50 divided by 5 is £10 each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write those in here. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Each pot, which is 1 hour, is worth £10. So, I said to Tilly, how many hours work did you do? She said, I'm not telling. I said, Tilly, how much work did you do? She said, I did 1 hour because I was washing my feet. I said, that's absolutely fine. But you will only get 1 hour's work. You get £10. Billy, how much did you? He said, I worked really hard. Mr. Harris, I did 4 hours work. I said, in that case, you can have £40 because you did 4 hours work. And they couldn't argue that that wasn't a fair way to divide the money. Good morning, everyone who's just arrived. Good morning, Lightning Sledgehammer. So, they shared their money in this fair way. And Billy said to Tilly, this is a fair way of doing it, isn't it? And Tilly said, I guess so. I'm going to do more work tomorrow. And so she did. The next day, Billy had a bit of a cold. So Billy came in a little bit later because he was feeling a bit under the weather. And Billy did 3 hours work. And Tilly, to make up for being lazy, decided to do 5 hours work. So she did a bit more than Billy that way to make up for it. And then they got very lucky because a rich person came along and paid them £400 for cleaning his Lamborghini. And they were like, whoa! And then Billy was like, oh, this is a beautiful car. And they cleaned it together and they worked really hard. So what they did is, because it got 3 hours and 5 hours, they made the ratio of 3 to 5. So hopefully, if you've been following, Tilly knew what to do now. She said, oh, I know what we do now. We first of all have to find out how many hours we worked. So in total, we get the ratio and we find out the total is 8 hours. It won't always be hours. Sometimes it will be different shares, but it was 8 hours in this one. So now we get our big total, 400, and we divide it by 8 into different pots. Let's draw those pots out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are the pots for each hour. So therefore, we now need to know what 400 divided by 8 is. Unfortunately, if you're up to speed with your bus stop, if you're not, then watch the primary session on Wednesday where we're going to do some bus stops. We've got 400 divided by 8. 8 doesn't go into 4, so we pass the 4 forwards. 8 goes into 45 times, so it's £50 per hour. They got very lucky that day. 50, 50, 50. And I started to talk to him until he said, Mr. Harris, I don't need you anymore. Me and Billy have got this. I said, what do you mean? She said, look, we can sort it out ourselves. Billy, how many hours did you go? He goes, I did 3 hours, Tilly. And they became best friends. And they were like being really friendly with each other. So Billy took home £150. And Tilly said, I did 5 hours. So I'm going to group these 5 together. 5 lots of 50 is 250. I'm going to have £250. And I'm going to put that in my bank. And they were both so happy. And then they said, you know what, Mr. Harris? We don't need you anymore. I said, what do you mean you don't need me anymore? They said, we don't need you anymore because look, we can work this out ourselves. We've worked out a method for fair sharing. I said, well, but you might still need me. They said, well, not if you're not going to do any work. I say, aha. In which case, I'm going to come in tomorrow. So I did. I came in the next day and I was ready to work hard. So, the last day that we're going to go through together, 'cause I'm not going to go through every day, we worked together for 5 years. But the last day, we had Mr. Harris and Billy and Tilly. And Billy worked super hard and did 3 hours. And Tilly worked super hard and did 3 hours. And I worked super hard and I did 1 hour. I got bored. It was difficult work and then I may be tired. So in the end, we had to make a ratio of 1 to 3 to 3. You are allowed to have 1 to 3 to 3. You're allowed to have multiple ratios. Remember, Ellis, please don't put the money into the answers into the feed, because some people want to work it out for themselves. Thank you. So, we've got 1 to 3 to 3. So therefore we get a total of 7 hours work. And we got paid that day £280. So we divide that by our 7 and make 7 pots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so that divided by the 28 divided by 7 is 4, so it's 40. So we've got 40 in each pot. And Tilly said, and Billy said, they spoke to each other together. Said, Mr. Harris, how much work did you do? I said, 5 hours. They said, no, you didn't. How much work did you really do? I said, 4 hours. They said, no. For the final time, how many hours did you do? I said, 1 hour. So they gave me £40. And then Billy and Tilly each did 3 hours. So they each got 3 lots. 3 lots of £40 is 120. And so 3 lots of 40 is 120. There we go. We've got £120 and £120. I'm hoping this makes sense to people. If not, please do let me know in the chat or in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer your questions. But this, I've been trying to show you, is a fair way to share things out. Now I'm hoping if I do this, then I'll magically go back to where I was. And we will find out whether I'm here or not. So that was our magical way of sharing things fairly. We used ratios and we fairly shared the things into ratios. Sometimes ratios are just 2 people, 2 to 7, or 1 to 9. But sometimes they can even have 20 people. But it would have to be quite complicated. 2 to 3 to 6 to 4 to 9 to 1 to 3 to 4. You don't really want to do it that way, but you could. But realistically, we're mainly going to do it with 2 or 3 items. Now, the worksheet I have provided for everyone in the comments has some missing values. Basically, to make sure you're watching the video. So, these are the values you're going to need. If you're going to complete the worksheet, feel free to put the numbers into the worksheet. This is useful as revision for foundation. So if there's people here from year 10, they're welcome to give it a go at practicing their sharing a ratio. You've got all the prices for the first 5 questions, and then you've got the amount of things they've got available. Feel free to pause it or write them down. You can always come back to this. I think it's 2242 is if you need to come back on, if you haven't printed the worksheets yet. Remember, they're always in the description below, and you can always write down what am I even saying? No one knows. You can always come back afterwards and find the description and click on the link to get the worksheets. Again, I would love to see people's work on this. So I'm hoping that you will go to the Facebook group and go and let me know exactly what work you've done. Show me pictures of the stuff you've done. Show me you sharing some things into different pots. You can work it out physically if you prefer that, especially if you're year 5 and 6. It might be useful to have a couple of pots to actually share some Legos into, or some beads or things to help you with some of the questions from the worksheet. Now, as you can see, I am trying to provide everything you possibly can. You've got down, I'm going to try and work out, I think it's down there is all my information. I'm still getting used to all this live streaming things. I will get better at it. Down there, you can see all the information of where you can find more information. Do go on Twitter, and you can send tweets. You can send emails to me at the address on the schoolofmrharris@gmail.com if you have any questions, or just put comments. Now, if you feel you've learned something today, or if parents, if you feel your children have learned something or just been entertained, please, please, please consider dropping the video a like or putting something in the comments saying what you got out of it. These sorts of things, I want to help as many people as possible. And they grow because people share them around, because people interact with them. And hopefully, It'll be something that is useful. I've had people from Australia who've said they're going to be checking in. I had someone from South Africa yesterday, someone from Kenya, 3 people from Canada. So we've got really people all over the world joining in to do this maths together. I hope you've learnt something today. It was only a short one because the worksheet is something for you to go and do. I hope it all makes sense. Now, what I want you to do is go off and do the worksheet, which will make the rest of the lesson. There's no point me talking at you for half an hour when I've got nothing much to say other than terrible jokes. So today's lesson is pretty much finishing there. Those people who've done the 15 minutes, you've now got to go a worksheet to go and do. I'll leave at the end the values on the screen so that you can see just here exactly what values you need. These are the values that you're going to be able to put into the worksheet and complete it. Then I'll put answers up in the description later or online, and I'll go through and have a look at what people have done. Thank you so much for the contribution you've made. Happy birthday, William Blades. Well done. Happy 10th birthday. Not the nicest place to be having a birthday, but at least you're still able to come and do some maths on your birthday. Lovely to see you, William. Right, thank you so much. I am going to head off. I will still be in the comments to answer questions. You've all been awesome. Tomorrow will probably be a longer one because we're going to be talking all about Harry Potter, and I've got all sorts of different things prepared. I'm experimenting with some things all over the place tomorrow. We will see how that works. Or will we? Well, we probably will. Or will we? Well, yeah, we will. Or will we? Yeah, yes, we definitely will. Or will we?